Welcome aboard the USS Aeronome. To become a member of our crew, please visit perfectorganism.com/support. As a patron of Perfect Organism, you'll receive exclusive perks and early access to content. Incoming audio transmission received. Please proceed to Subdeck 3 to begin playback. Thank you, and welcome aboard.
I think we ought to discuss the bonus situation.
Right.
Brett and I, we think we deserve full shares, right, baby?
You see, Mr. Park and I feel that the bonus situation is good.
Move! Get out of there! Don't you move! Dad! Move, Dad! Move, Dad! Get out!
Welcome to Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga podcast. Welcome to our live Alien Day 2021 edition. I am your host, Jaime Prater, and I'm joined by several people, starting with
Patrick Green
and
Harry Chicos. Oh.
And
Mash.
And our special guest, longtime friend, used to be a contributor, and writer of The Tides of Night, Conar Murdoch. Thanks for joining us, Conar.
I'm clapping up.
At what time is it there, Connor?
It's 4.
Okay.
4. So, yeah, normal time.
Normal
that's
time.
That's tides of night time right there. I'll tell you,
That's
that
real
is the
Xeno
Black
hours.
Sea.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we made it, huh?
We made it. Yes.
Did it.
It's been a pretty great Alien Day 2021. Made by the fans, made for the fans, really whether it was AVP Galaxy or Studio Yutani or just individuals coming out and saying, hey, this is what I'm contributing to Alien Day this year. And it really made it special. It didn't have there was no corporate footprint this year, which was very different for us, but I'd say it worked pretty well.
I mean, there was literally no corporate footprint this
Yeah.
year whatsoever. The earliest indication of this, I was telling the guys earlier, was I went to the Alien Anthology site, which is normally like the first thing I do on Alien Day because it's where it's the official Fox or 20th Century like landing page for this stuff, right? And it just redirected me to the Nomadland like Blu-ray purchase page on the Fox on what was the Fox website, and I was like, oh my god, this is like not happening at all this year. So that was interesting, but I 100% agree with what you're saying, Jamie, that this was more than ever by the fans for the fans, and felt really organic, and felt a little bit more like Alien Day felt in the earlier days years ago when it was really informal and it was just like people doing viewing parties remotely. And it had that more kind of like homegrown feel this year. And I also, though, I feel like at PO, we got to be more directly a part of it than ever because we were one of the few outlets. There were others that you just mentioned, but it was really just kind of a handful of us contributing a lot of content today. And it was fun. It was really, really fun.
It was fun. A lot of work, but it was really fun. Just seeing everybody happy and talking about, again, usually we're talking about things that are being released, whether it's Reebok shoes or something, and we didn't have those things to talk about. So we were talking about the t-shirt design that we released, or the Tides of Night, or some great artwork. I mean, there were a couple things announced, like there's a new Aliens art book coming out, I think September 7th of this year. Yeah. That's interesting.
Did you notice, though, that none of the things that were announced are available?
I know.
Right now, it's just like, hey, sometime in 2 years we might be doing this.
You're like, hey, it's an announcement, all right.
That's why I was really hoping for Alien Star Team to say, look, here's a beta. We're dropping it right now.
Yeah,
I know. On Twitter for it.
We have to take a minute to talk about this for a second. Like, it is shocking that there, and we were talking about this earlier today via text message, that there has been no presence from Disney or whoever else, like, at all. There's been some, and it's just like, it just seemed a little bit like a missed opportunity. There's such a well of fans here that love this product, this huge IP, and it was like, oh, sorry, it's just interesting.
Yeah, it was ironic at the time that we were talking about it, because then NECA actually did do a post if you collect the NECA figures, like the big chap here. But yeah, it was like you said, Patrick, it was just another announcement that they're releasing 40th anniversary, like a Ripley and Lambert figure. But yeah, I kind of felt bad for him because I was looking at their comments on their Instagram, and it was people were pretty ripping them pretty bad for not releasing something more, or like having something we could purchase, or like something new from the Aliens line from Kenner, you know. So, but yeah, to that point.
Weird. I have to say though, you know, I've never actually shared this. I've almost shared this many times, and then I don't because I get lazy and I don't want to go on Facebook. But I've actually you can get the Reebok stompers in a way that you might not realize you can, which is
from Reebok.
From the internet. These have been my daily driver shoes for like, you know, the last year and a half or so, which is, this looks great because I have a virtual bag. It's like the
disappearing
streetwear version of the shoe. I'm gonna fix my background. Hang on.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Cool shoes.
Yeah. So it's like the Reebok like street stomper, which is basically the prototype that the shoe in Aliens is based on. And it's essentially the same shoe. It's just got a different color scheme and it's a slightly different layout.
You can buy those?
Yeah, they're like $80. I think I'm gonna buy a second pair just to have them because like I don't want to.
Can you buy them in red?
You could definitely make them red with crayons, Jamie. You know?
Right.
Crayons. Cheeks crayons.
They're
Give me that
Micah
red
has this. Micah has this saying that like, you know, the best fandom is subtle fandom, which is something that I don't know about, as you can tell, because I cover myself in alien shit everywhere I go. But I do agree, you know, there's something to be said for like kind of like, you know, low key fandom. And this is great because like almost nobody will think it's anything other than just like kind of a cool Reebok throwback. But the people who recognize like the Velcro strap on the top and shit will be like, well, it's a little bit like
pull that Velcro. Let me hear that.
Yeah. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, give it to me.
Oh yeah.
ASMR session.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's some 80s goodness right there.
Yeah. That's
Velcro.
This shit. Anyway, check it out. It's on the Reebok website. It's $80.
That's
I'll get
cool.
a commission, obviously. So go ahead and buy it. Oh, hang on. One more thing I want to show too before we forget. Madge, you and I did an Instagram video.
We did.
I think it was the two of us. This was not today. This was like back in February. And I mentioned having this giant translucent prototype.
Yeah.
And so I brought it upstairs to share at some point today and didn't get
subtle fandom.
Oh,
Sticking that in my bag when I arrive.
Look at this monster. Look at this thing.
Oh my
That's awesome.
Is
that
awesome.
NECA too?
This is also NECA. Yeah, this is a 1/8 scale, I believe.
Oh,
and it's
That's
this
amazing.
is really, this is my birthday present
Patrick,
from
that's
Mike a
awesome.
few years ago. But this is based on the original prototype that's translucent, which is going on auction in a day and a half, gentlemen. So if you want to buy that actual screen tested suit from Alien,
no
you can do
way.
it. It's estimated to go for $40,000 to $60,000. I'm just
Wow.
saying, if you buy more
Great.
T-shirts, people, if you keep buying the commemorative
P.O. can
t-shirt,
own it.
Patrick
Yeah.
can
And
have
then we'll
even
look at
more
it.
alien shit.
and then it'll be in my house. Let's be honest. I don't care. You know, Jamie's the founder. I'm still gonna
This
get
is
it.
to terrify the children.
That would be awesome.
We'll have
Hey,
joint custody.
speaking of though, when I was watching the Oscars last night, I know I told you guys, but they were talking about the Academy Museum that they built out in LA and everything. And one of the first things you see in the glass case is the head of the alien. And I was like, oh, wait, what? I was like, I don't know, it was just kind of a cool moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but you probably should have had to watch. You'd have had to watch it. You had to be
No,
there.
it's cool.
you know?
You're like, yeah, it was pretty cool. But,
I still think I all the time. You know, we were talking just earlier today. I don't remember the context. But we were talking about the first time I came to LA to visit Jamie, and we went to the 40th anniversary exhibit, and getting
Barely.
to see.
We barely made it.
we barely made it. Jamie drove us to the middle of the desert.
I drove us to the middle of nowhere, pulling up. Oh, I think we're here.
Jamie, this doesn't look like what I think the University of Southern
We're
California.
like in these houses
like,
back somewhere.
It's like a fucking McDonald's down the street.
There's a train tracks.
That's George Lucas.
And Patrick's like, I don't think we're.
But we did eventually find it. We went to the exhibit and it was incredible. But seeing those props in person that you're talking about, Perry, like seeing the Rambaldi, mechanisms for the jaw and stuff. That was surreal to see that. So like as soon as things are normal again and people can get over to museums like the Academy Museum, check that shit out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a great exhibit. I can't believe that was 2 years ago. How was that 2 years ago? It's crazy. Just want to shout out to Alexander House, Andy Geek Girl, Adrian, Christopher Isaac Bustos. Thank you guys for watching.
What's up, guys? I forgot we were streaming this.
Hey, everyone.
Keep your clothes on, Patrick.
I always love how the names that come up when we do these live streams are people that we know so well. Like every one of those names are people that we have like real friendships with. I just feel like that to me is what Alien Day is all about, right? It's like I can count. I already know who's going to be like liking and resharing things and sending videos and pictures and things, because it's like this relatively small but really passionate fan community all around the world, and like we all know each other, and I just love it. You guys make me so happy. You really do.
So let's get into some of the stuff that we released. I know that there's things that we can talk about. I would say we should talk about the big one first, which is the Tides of Night, which is something we've been working on for
5 years,
a year and a half at least. It was supposed to come out. Yeah, like it was supposed to come out Alien Day 2020. Again, we all know what happened then. No one had much motivation for anything, including myself. But we started getting this together probably summer of 2019 is when we started getting it together, because we're thinking we're going to release it on Alien Day. Conar, I don't know how it all came about, but Conar presented the story and we're like, we need to do this as an audio drama. So then I started up adapting it, because it's a very long story, but we needed to adapt it so we could fit it within an hour and 15, hour and a half. And that took a while, and then we had to cast it. It's a big audio drama, but it's a small cast. Like the environment is really large. What's happening is huge, but what's happening personally is really small. So it worked really well. I'm curious, Conar, like when did you write the original story?
So what year around 2021? It was 2 years ago actually. I've worked for Alien Day doing the 40 Miles Bad Road series. That's when I originally wrote it, I remember. Was I wrote the story beforehand, the year before, which it was only like 3,000 words. That was the one I originally sent to you, and you liked it. And then the year after that, I was like, I kind of like making a habit of doing short stories of Alien Day, just to put something out there. It was just one of those things where I only gave myself 3-4 weeks, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh, Jesus. And put it out there, and obviously you picked up on it and decided that you wanted to run with it. I don't, honestly, now that I think about it, I do not know where in my mind it came from, because every time I look at it, I must have been in some really dark places when I was writing that.
Well, that's what makes Alien great, is it's man confronting the darkness of themselves more than it is the alien. The alien's sort of the manifestation of our darkness, whereas we're dealing with our own darkness. And that's what I think, that's why I love Tides of Nights so much, is that it gets to what Alien is about, which is what do we do when we face ourselves? And more than, and it does include some like Marines, and it has those things that we're familiar with, but it's not exploring them in a way that's familiar. And that's what I loved about the story. This is a story about the heart of darkness, going into the heart of darkness. This is like an alien version of Apocalypse Now. That's what it reminds me of, and I thought it worked really well.
Well, I think the other thing was, at the time when I was writing it, I was reading a book called Ordinary Men by Christopher Brown, and that was about a police battalion in Poland during the Holocaust, how they were confronted with the fact that they were being forced to murder their own people. And it was a very, very dark book. And I think that probably stayed with me the entire time I was writing it, which led me to go down the paths that I went with that book, or with the story, I should say.
I could tell.
Yeah.
And we should probably definitely mention that Tides of Night stars Stevie J. Douglas, who is a part of Alien fandom, but he also is the director of the Vincent Ward play, which is the original, or one of the many screenplays written for Alien 3. The one that eventually got made was based off a story by Vincent Ward, and Stevie produced that play in Scotland a couple years ago, and he is an actor, and it was Connor's idea to ask Stevie to audition, and Stevie did, and we loved it, and we went for it. And then a friend of ours, Stephen Anthony Gray, who won our contest after we crossed 10,000 likes, he played Takumi, which I thought he did an amazing job. Like, listening back, when I did listen back a couple days ago, Patrick, when you sent it to me, I felt like I was like, it didn't sound like audio that I was manipulating anymore. It sounded like I was really there in the war zone. Like, it really, there's something really amazing about it. I don't want to like sit here and like, oh, we did such a great job, but I just.
But you did. I'm sorry, but you did.
Yeah. You want to talk about the music at all, Patrick?
No, we don't want to talk about music.
I was telling Connor earlier, it was such a treat to score this because I just adore them. I mean, I've adored the material since you first sent it to us back in the late 1960s. I feel like I've always really believed in it.
When I was 70.
Yeah, back when Jamie first got his AARP card. I always thought it was so strong, and partly because you have such a distinctive voice. I feel, Connor, as a writer, I think you really nobody writes like you do. And because it's something where it starts pretty dark, obviously, and it doesn't like get any lighter. It's a consistent. You're basically being pulled down into hell the entire time, and yet it never feels like it never feels simple, right? Like what I love, and it's similar to Giger in that it's all for the most part rendered in various shades of black to some degree, right, or gray. And yet there's a lot of detail in that darkness, and there's a lot of subtlety in the darkness, and a lot of beauty in the darkness. And I think that as like an aesthetic from a writing standpoint is really, really admirable, and it's something that I don't think many people pull off. So I've always like figured like the aesthetic of your piece has always spoken to me a lot. But in terms of actually scoring it was a legit challenge, and Jamie knows that because I sent him some some outtakes where I was like, I want you to listen to how shitty this is going to sound.
Clown horn.
Stevie is no, but I was, because I initially kind of came at it with a score that was very heavy. So, as you know, back in the beginning of the pandemic, I have all these visual aids tonight. I bought all of these things to play for the score, these Amazonian death whistles.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, which you can hear in the soundtrack. They're all over it still.
Is that a capybara skull?
I remember. Yeah, I remember you showing
cool.
us that last year, saying I bought.
Yeah,
this yeah.
As soon as we said we were moving forward with it, I was like, okay, Conar Murdoch deserves some death whistles in his soundtrack. And Connor and I both love metal. I'm a huge like metalhead. That's a lot of the sort of the rock that I listen to is heavy metal music, and I know that Connor appreciates that too. So, and my first ideas for this was going to be like that, like doing something very kind of like heavy and rhythmic. And that just sounded so stupid in context. It just didn't work. And then I tried to do this kind of orchestral treatment, although there's no orchestras playing right now, so it was all on my synthesizers, but kind of loud and bombastic and grandiose and everything. And then also just sounded really, really dumb. And so Jamie and I had a back and forth, and this was as late as like last Thursday. I was like, I don't have this fucking score yet, and I honestly don't know if I can figure this out, because like we're releasing this in a few days from now, and it doesn't sound right. Like, and I've already gone through most of it, and I want to throw it out. So I did. I threw out everything that I had written up until that point, and Jamie and I had a conversation. And I was like, you know what? What's not working is that because Stevie does this like incredible understated thing the entire time, and it's not monotonous, right? But it's very much like this character has been through an enormous amount, and he's not trying to impress anybody with his story. He's basically just spilling it out of himself, right? So to do anything to try to like elevate the drama was a disservice because the point wasn't elevated drama. The point was almost like a confession. The point was almost like an expulsion. And so the music, then I decided, I talked to Jamie about this. I was like, I'm going to use only drone material. So there's going to be basically no harmonic motion. So the whole thing is basically going to be stuck in one key or one tonal area because there is no movement. There's no progression. It's one thing, right? But similar to Connor's writing, what I tried to do was root it, even though it was all within this one thing, this one kind of aesthetic, this dark sort of descent, trying to make a lot of variation within that. And so that's why all of the tracks that are on the score sound different from one another, is because they're all different takes. But yeah, I basically rewrote the entire thing in 3 days. And it was a wonderful experience, and I'm really glad for it. So thank you for letting me score it. And the soundtrack will be out as a separate release probably later this week. I just want to master it a little bit first.
If you want
considering I wrote it in 3 days.
your neighbors to be afraid for your kids listening to it, like Jamie listening to the Terminator 2 soundtrack. You want them to be concerned about this dark material you listen to. Like, he's listening to this story about it's a lot of death and aliens.
There's burning children.
There's drone music.
Burning children, things breaking through the chest bone of children.
The serpent. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. And I got to say, like, the piece as a whole, I mean, Jamie, your sound design, I've told you this, to me, is just head and shoulders above anything you've done, which is saying a lot because you've done incredible work for years and years and years. But I really feel like the sound design for this thing is just the most immersive, wonderful to listen to, yet disturbing stuff you've done. I think it really, like, this whole piece just works so well. And I was saying this morning to the guys, I still get chills listening to it, even though now I've been living with this thing for so long and I've listened to it so many times. I still get actual genuine chills. I cried a couple of times that I was listening to it this morning. I still 100% feel emotionally connected to it. And Connor, it ultimately at the end of the day is 100% because of you and because of this art that you brought into the world. So congratulations, my friend. And I really hope that this gets downloaded a shitload and people share it. And I really hope people appreciate the amount of work that went into this by a lot of people, not only Connor, but a lot of other people through the year and a half or so since we've started working on it.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously what people hear is months and months or a year of work. I mean, certainly the editing, but it was getting people to record, having people record their parts remotely over a span of months, turning it in, re-recording in some instances, sending them to me, editing it, and then re-editing it and having people listen. Like there were several people who listened to passes of this, or as it was going, like Maj, like Perry's in it, by the way.
Perry stars in it, actually.
Yeah, his death stars in it. I'm in it too for a brief minute. That's the first voice you hear is mine. Even though I'm not an actor at all, but yeah. And then we have other friends like Clara Fefe, Mother 9000 or Mother whatever 1000 she is right now. She's in it. Ryan Zaid, our longtime friend, is in it. Bradford
Micah
Eckert
is in it as well.
Micah,
is in it. Yeah.
Bradford plays the captain, and he's amazing. It's really a concerted effort from everyone in fandom, and it was just great.
And for people who like Proximity, the original one, just super brief. If you remember Proximity, the first audio drama we did, Bradford had a very prominent role in that too.
He did.
So it's cool hearing him. He's kind of like a little through line in Perfect Organism audio dramas. But Connor, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, there was just a couple of points that I wanted to make about the whole behind the scenes thing. People won't realize is getting Stevie's recording was difficult to say. Jamie, I don't know if you remember, but all his equipment broke down in the middle of recording.
That's right.
So what had to happen was Stevie had to go to a friend's house, record it on some, I can't remember what device it was, but it was something ancient by our standards now. It's like 3 or 4 years ago. What he had to do was download the entire thing onto a USB and drive across Scotland to get it. He literally came to the house with a USB and he's like, here you go. I was like, wow, that's dedication on so many levels.
And for weeks and weeks we were like, how you doing? How's it going? How's it going? How's the recording? How's it going? It's going. It's going.
Basically, he was providing the entire skeleton of the story. So everything was on him, and I felt bad for him. I really did. Sorry, Steve, put this on you.
I was
But,
excited to be in it. Jamie cut my part. This is what I sent him. It was a
Well, by the time you sent it, I was like almost done.
Yeah.
Mash
No,
sent
just-
it to me like 3 days later.
But when I was
Yeah.
listening to the score all the way through, I was just sitting there thinking, Patrick, it's weird. I was saying this to the guys before you joined the call, is that I was picking up a lot of Blade Runner, and just in a little bit between, I don't know if you remember it, but there's a certain track on the Covenant soundtrack when the chest burster comes in, it's a really soft melodic piano tone going on. And it just felt like this perfect hybrid between the two of them. And it was just bang on, nailed the tone perfectly. Because you said you were thinking about Mick Ford, the thing, which anybody who doesn't know Mick Ford thinks Doom soundtrack. I was like, that could work, but might not.
I just wanted it to. I want an excuse. Somebody write me something that I can do a metal soundtrack to, because that's what I want to write. Just like as a heads up. But yeah, it didn't.
And
It
Jamie,
didn't work. You know.
you were a goddamn trooper through the editing, because I'll admit I was being very, very nitpicky with certain things. I was sending them exact second points, like this doesn't sound right. I was being an absolute dick, I'll be perfectly honest.
No, so yeah, you weren't. No, I understood it. Like, yes, I was editing this, but this is your story, and it needed to sound. You needed to hear how it sounded in your head, what you imagined. So, as a storyteller myself, I get it. You have a vision, and I didn't like. Probably, if it would have been like round 5, I would have been like, okay, Connor, I've done as much. But you only had like essentially 2 rounds of editing notes. And then, like, you know, when you're doing something like this, you're editing something, you're going along, and then you're like, oh shit, we need something else. Oh shit, we need something else. And that's usually what happens. So it's usually me going to YouTube, finding sounds, downloading them, importing them, and putting them within the timeline. And there, you know, there's instances where one of our stars forgot to record a part of his dialogue, but you don't know because it works.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I was like, Connor, if I ask this person to do this for us, I don't know if we're going to get this done on time. So Connor was like, nope, just do it. But it all
Well,
worked.
that's anyone to be record anything. I'm pretty sure all the stuff we got through, no matter how many takes, that was it. We basically had everything from the get go then.
Mm-hmm.
I want
Yeah,
to say one
we
more
did.
thing
Yeah.
about Tides of Night, just briefly. Also, Connor, you finish your point. Sorry.
Sorry, I just want to say thank you to everybody that was involved, because it turned out way, way better than I ever thought it could be. Honestly, it just astounds me to still listen to it now. I didn't listen to the full thing until today, and I sent Jamie a message just like, holy shit, holy shit, holy
Holy
shit.
fuck.
Straight up. Thank you. I'm
That's so
trying to be
great.
PG here. Help me.
Now all you got to do is write a Mad Max for Patrick's metal score.
That's all I'm saying is just give me something to use drums on. That's all I care about.
Well, we're going to
Yeah.
revisit. What were you going to say, Patrick?
Yeah, and just briefly. So Stevie's audio. This was a big. You know, we were obviously waiting for it for a very, very long time, and you know, knowing that stuff was going on. And then when it did come through, and it sounded so kind of archaic. I remember Jamie being like, "Oh my god, I don't know if this is going to work." And I actually was like, "I think that is going to make this thing." I think
Yep.
that the way that his audio sounds, which is not good by any like objective standard, is
And by that,
actually
Patrick doesn't mean his audio isn't good. It means the quality is different than the texture of the audio. I don't.
yeah,
wouldn't even-
recording,
no, I mean like the actual audio signal. Like it's just not like it's not a very high fidelity
Yeah,
audio
yeah.
capture, right? His performance is incredible. That's separate. But to me, that was actually almost what made the whole thing work as well as it did, because it gave it this sense of like almost a document recovered from a battlefield.
Yes.
You know, it had this feeling of something kind of broken, and it's I mean, and a testament, Jamie, to how you mixed it into the rest of the voices too, that it sounds so natural. But I just want to say, like, part of art, and this also very much applies to the score and how I rescored the whole thing in 3 days after having been playing with it for 4 months or something. Like a lot of the time when you're working on a creative project, and we're all creative people in this space, we all have done this in different parts of our lives before. You put a lot of work into something, and then usually by the end of that decision tree that you've gone through, there's something that you weren't anticipating that arises, right? And a lot of the time, the thing that like characterizes really successful art from art that's not successful is how you respond to those late in the game changes, right? To when something happens that you were not anticipating, because that honestly is the universe stepping in and giving you a miracle potentially to play with.
The
right?
obstacle is the path.
Exactly.
The
Beautifully
Obstacle
said.
is the path.
And this was an example of that. If we had done this in time for last year, I don't think it would have been as good. You know, if we had just put pedal to the metal in the beginning of the pandemic, which we could have done potentially.
You said metal. You said metal.
I said metal. don't get me going. I feel like it would have been a worse. I mean, part of why this was so powerful is because of what we've all lived through and what it's taken to get it to this point, and the things that came up that we had to react to. Stevie having to drive across, the entire country to find a recording situation, and it just, a lot of the time I feel like art that works well is characterized by things like that. And The Tides of Night is a great example of art that works well. And I'm
Born through struggle. Yeah.
Born through struggle, and it's an honor as always to struggle with all of it.
And we're probably going to be revisiting this world. All of a sudden, the conversation in our text thread today was like, do a sequel. It was a lot of it for me. Do a prequel, whatever, because we love the characters. We're probably going to revisit it, and we're talking about next year, but I have a story that I want to do for next year that I want Perry to help me with. I haven't talked to you about it yet, Patrick, so we'll talk about it later. But yeah,
wow.
But I'm excited. I'm excited to get back into Conar's, the world that he created. I think it's really unique. And I also want to say this, and my standards are pretty high in terms of, like, everybody knows I'm a purist, and there's things that I fucking hate, or yo, I fucking hate. But
yeah, it's yo, you fucking
like
hate.
I've listened to the standard, like the audio dramas from Audible, like River of Pain, and Out of the Shadows, and those are all pretty. They're okay. They're all variations on a theme. It's either bringing Ripley back or let's wake her up during cryo. It's a remix of the same things that we've seen before, essentially. And what I love about Conar's story and the stories we've done, even Proximity, is that we're like, let's tell a different story. I feel like these studios they trench themselves in with retellings of stories in the same world because it's comfortable, because it's popular, because it'll be received well, and it's Ripley. And I love that with Proximity and with Tides of Night, we're like, no, we're going to do something different because we need something different. We can handle it. And they've been received well. I think Proximity is still our biggest downloaded episode of all time, like 6,000 people.
By a huge amount. Yeah. But
yeah. 42,000 or more,
yeah.
52,000 on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Tides of Night is even better than that, and it will eclipse it. So it's just a testament to what fans are really after. They're not after the same thing over and over. If it's good, if it's a good story, they will listen to it and they will love it. And I feel like it's evidence for studios who are in charge and involved to say, you can take a risk. Take a risk. You don't have to retell these stories set in the world of aliens over and over and over. You can go darker. You can have new characters. So I'm patting us all on the back. I think it was a great job.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're onto something. So thanks everybody
The one quick thing I wanted to say is, and I know I told you this morning, Patrick, is that it really, for me, what I loved about it is, like, I feel like this team is just so good at capturing, like, the tones, the feelings, the feels that you felt when you, like, first saw Alien or Aliens or Alien 3. And those things that resonate with you, especially with what we've been through in the past year with COVID and everything. It's just, if you want to listen to something new, but that makes you feel like you watched Alien for the first time again, like, that's what this really felt like for me listening to Tides of Night. And I just freaking love it. And it's just like testament to Conar and, like, you got all this team, you guys putting this all together. It's a beautiful thing.
Thanks, man. Congrats, team. You want to read through some more stuff before we all fall asleep because it's so late?
Yeah. Well, we should talk about. Well, we also released an interview with a brewing company called Alewife, which is located in Queens. Yeah. And that was a great interview. It's about 45 minutes long. They just talked about the process, how they came up with the idea. I feel like the episode came out really great. I really, when he was talking, if anyone has listened to it, when he names what the beers are, because I misnamed the beer right away. Of course, I'm like, isn't it called They Mostly Come at Night? But I used actually Newt's quote from the movie when he said, no, it's actually called, and then I used Newt's quote. So it's a great interview. It's interspersed with a lot of great moments from Aliens. Check it out.
It's also been a show where ever since we recorded it, Jamie's been he's been asking questions about what an ale is versus
no, what a beer is.
A beer's not an ale though, is it? Like,
well, I don't know the difference.
But is ale's kind of like wine, right? I'm like, Jamie.
I'm 92.
Coffee is a soup.
That was fun, and that was also, again, Connor, I hope you're appreciating the fact that we almost exclusively featured Scottish people.
I know, this is like the Scottish
super weird.
I know Keir said that he didn't really have the accent, but he did. He really did.
Oh, he totally had the accent. Yeah. Oh, you listened to it already?
Yeah,
Nice.
I've listened to all the podcasts before. I listened to the Final Puppet out.
And then we had another interview, which was, I think, one of our greatest interviews ever with John Sorensen. You want to talk about that, Patrick?
Amazing.
Another Scotsman.
Just so good.
This, just my brief little like window into this, was that we were recording this, of course, during the middle of the day, because he's in Europe, and we were trying to be. So he was heading out for a long weekend with his wife to a cabin, right? I believe, Jamie, right? He was about to like.
I don't. Perhaps I know it wasn't a long weekend. He's like, I won't be back until I don't know when.
Yeah, or maybe it was like for.
He said no internet, no nothing.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
He what I'm saying is he was becoming a hermit or something. So we knew we had like 2 days to do this interview, and we were champing at the bit for it. And Jamie and we were going back and forth with like when we could do it, and it was really looking like I was not going to be able to be there because of things at work that I just could not get out of. And I was like so heartbroken the entire day. I was just sitting there like literally like on the verge of tears and all these fucking meetings that I had at work, because like when else am I going to talk to somebody who was on the set of Alien, and then this meeting got canceled, and I was that feeling of elation of knowing that I was going to be there. I'll never forget that. And then showing up and like not only I think part of what I really appreciate about it was that we get, Perry, you said it well, we very rarely get this opportunity to recapture the feeling of seeing these films again for the first time, of getting to understand them in a way that is truly different, right? Because we have all of these layers of strata built up through the years of our lives of thinking about them and reinterpreting them and revisiting them and watching them a million times. And then sometimes you get this little window into these films that is actually different, and it just sets everything on fire. And for me, getting to talk to John Sorensen, who was there as a child, essentially, as a late teenager, early 20s dude, just out of school, building the miniatures that have become, eternalized in this film, and getting to hear him talk from the standpoint of somebody who knows, looking back, that was his great achievement, that who knows that, regardless of what he does in the years to come, he's done something that has gone down in history. It was just an amazing feeling to be able to see that. And then also, we were just watching it tonight, obviously for Alien Day, in the 4K release, which is just incredible. And I was watching the work that he was talking about, and I was like looking at the miniature on the screen, landing on LV-426 and things, and thinking about the things that he had told us about in the interview, and realizing how special it was that I didn't know these things because of the, director's commentary track or something. Like, I knew it because I took a meeting got canceled at work, and I got to talk to the guy who built it as a result of being a part of this show. So as always, I'm so grateful to Jamie, especially for getting me on board this shit years ago and giving me the opportunity to, interrupt work days by talking to people who worked on the set of Alien in the late 1970s. It's just,
the feeling you're talking about will translate to any listener. It is an amazing interview. And you guys did such a service by shutting up, because I remember I had a teacher once that said, this is a pretty basic rule. If you're talking even 10% of the time in an interview, and you're the interviewer, you're talking too much. And you guys it was so great, because when you hear someone talk passionately about anything, it's special, but especially a person of his age, where the stories are rich and he has so much to tell. It's like my grandpa. I ask him like one story. I ask him like, hey, can you tell me about that time? And it's like, it becomes 7 stories. And it's just like, I almost forgot I was listening to it in a way. I was just so in it. And then I would just sort of pop up and be like, oh my God, I was so there in my mind. And the stories you're talking about, it's not just specific, that's how we built this. It was a technical this, we were on the set. Like those are special too, but just these there are little nuggets and stories in there that you'll never find anywhere. You'll never read anywhere. And they really do put you there because it's the after hours stuff. Oh yeah. And after we'd be done, we'd all go meet up here and we talked here. And this guy said this to me and describes these characters and just the way he would even describe these people, just unique folks that left an impression on him just because of who they were and things they said to him and things he saw there when he was so full of wonder at that age. Like it was like reading a book. It was just like, it was rich. It's a rich interview. And yeah, it's so good. I love it. I love that you guys got all that out of him and it's out there now.
And anecdotally, I mean, just one of the things he mentions is receiving a letter from Alec Guinness as a 19-year-old, and he didn't really talk about what was in the letter, but he's like, I'll treasure it forever because I think he still has it. But Alec Guinness, who of course plays Obi-Wan Kenobi, I mean, who has a storied career in Hollywood.
They called him Obi-Wan.
It's just
hello there,
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's just things like that, like little nuggets here and there.
About old Ben. Sorry.
But actually that interview, I take about 3 or 4 hours to edit most of the shows that I end up editing because Patrick and I split it up pretty evenly. That episode took me 3 solid 7-hour days to edit. It was like I kept messaging Patrick like, oh my God, this episode. Not that, I mean, it was great, but there's just a lot there and you have to capture it. And I wanted to make sure, because afterwards, Patrick and I really felt like we were there with him in that room working on the Nostromo. Seriously, like I felt like we were transported, but it was the way he was talking. It was the way that his words were softly bringing us back into that space and reminding us.
No sense of being hurried at all.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think the big difference with that interview compared to most interviews, it didn't feel like a press interview. It just sort of felt like you were a fly in the wall, not an interview, but a conversation, just somewhere quiet. And I love the story how Ridley Scott bought the drink. I was like,
yes.
Yeah.
My favorite moment from that whole thing was when he talked about sitting by the bank of the river and feeding the geese, just like like when we watched this movie, it's so hard to remember the fact that they were in a studio with a parking lot in front of it and with like hot dog vendors down the road and with birds outside, but there were, and these people were working union shifts for hours and hours, and they would go outside and they would just like hang out and cool off and sit by the banks of the river. And I loved when he would talk about those moments. I thought they were really powerful.
It was such a strange chain of events that led him to that point. It was really weird. It was like right for an interview that I was like, no, you essentially just filtered himself into it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's part of it too. He was able to enter into this system known as Hollywood in a way that is impossible now. He showed up to the studio. Hey, I think I heard about. Oh yeah, come in. I mean, that does not happen anymore. Those walls are shut. Even if you have friends, they're shut unless you have really something of value to offer.
Totally.
And he was able to work on this film in a way where film was still burgeoning, effects were still changing. The effects in Alien were still something very new. I mean, Stanley Kubrick did 2001, which really set the precedent, and then Star Wars pushed it even further, and then Alien was coming on the heels of both of those things in a completely different way, and he was a part of it. And I mean, even today we watch Alien, those effects have not aged. There's nothing in that movie except for maybe one little shake of the creature's fingers, which look a little rubbery. That's all. The rest of that movie is completely flawless. All of those films feel completely timeless. There's you don't like, I mean, like Aliens feels definitely 80s to me. There's an 80s quality to it. But it's still timeless. But the other two, Alien and Alien 3, they could have been made in any decade. They're just timeless pieces of art.
Talks a little about, I won't say what he go into detail, but he talked about creating the opening shot of Alien, the space shot, and showing the rings of the planet and all that. And I always thought that was a beautiful shot, and I always kind of wondered about how they did it, but just hearing him do it, and just like it's so like he really illustrates how this was made like with their two hands, like, and it's such a it makes you love it even more. Like it's just this beautiful crafted art project thing. It's just yeah, I didn't know if I could love the movie more, but that interview made me love it more.
Something to be said for practical in-camera effects work done impeccably well, and it holds up forever. And I was thinking about, you know, the movie Christine, the John Carpenter, Stephen King film, when the lead character, you know, asks the car to like transform for him, and it fixes itself in real time in front of the camera, like, and they did it just by doing reverse photography, just playing the film backwards. But you watch it, and it's like the most technically convinced. I mean, that will look perfect in 3,000 years from now.
What's this movie called?
Christine.
About
Stephen King.
I've never heard of it.
Stephen King's
What the
Christine.
fuck?
Yeah.
With the red Plymouth, you've never heard of this movie
No,
before?
never heard of it.
Oh, it's a
I'll have to look
famous
for it.
book too. It's great. It's a really good movie, and it's John
Okay.
Carpenter, and he's like hot off the heels of Halloween, right around the time that he made The Thing, and it's like a pulp kind of horror movie, but it's really well done.
Yeah. Didn't he make it kind of as a response to The Thing, because they got on him for The Thing being too graphic, and he's like, I'll make something a little more.
Oh,
more
did
like
he? I don't know.
More close to home. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
Sorry, go
Well,
on though.
It plays like a really cool companion piece to The Thing, I think. And it's a movie that like has become more beloved with time, but you know, as many Carpenter films are. But I think a big reason why it's held up so well is because of the in-camera effects that they were able to do just by paying such incredible, like The Thing, another Carpenter film also, right? Like that looks incredibly good now as it did then. But Alien, I mean, watching it tonight with the kids in a 4K restoration on our huge TV, sitting right in front of it on fucking beanbags, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, there are still things in the frame that I just haven't seen, somehow have missed in the past, and they look perfect. Like there's nothing in the margins of any shot of that movie that looks at all out of place. And people like John Sorensen are the reason for it, and we got to have him on the show, and that is just one of the coolest things ever. And I wanted to say one more thing because we got to wrap, and we got to do our trivia question for those of you still watching. John Sorensen, when we did the interview, just to set the scene a little bit for those of you who weren't there with us. So he has this sort of like long white hair. His shirt was like unbuttoned down to his like navel almost. He just had this like very kind of old hippie vibe to him. Jewelry, just sort of sitting there in his room with like he had a big like CD master deck in the background. He had like dream catchers on the walls. Just looked like this
Just
super cool
vibing.
dude, just vibing. And he was so, like, to me at least, at peace. He felt like just this old soul who was just there to like connect on a human level. And when we were done with it, you know, he wrote us a very sweet message in an email. And it was saying how like it meant something to him, it felt special to him, and how he really hopes that, you know, like we can continue this connection in the future. And it felt like, you know, I really feel like there's this, and I'm sure it's Jaime, because it's not me, because I don't have interactions with people that usually happens when I'm done with it. But I feel like many of the interviews we've had over especially the last year, have ended with something like that. Ralph Brown also wrote us a kind of an emotional email afterwards. Philip Kennedy Johnson continues to write to us and to reach out on a very personal level. Like we keep having these really meaningful connections with people who come on the show. And I think part of it, I think, is just Jamie's interpersonal skills, but I think part of it is also the fact that we realize more than ever what we're all living through together, you know, and how like these moments of real human connection are like, you can't waste them when you get them. And this moment with John Sorensen is just another fantastic example of that. And it's a real human moment.
To your point, though, Patrick, I think what you're talking about, though, is how stories transform us, how stories speak to us. And we've been able to talk with people who understand that their story, a story that they were a part of in a film, has lived in our hearts. And that's the connection that we're making. That's why these aren't just movies. They're not just characters. Parker isn't just a character. Ripley isn't just a character. These are living, breathing people in us. And I think that's what we connect with. And then it takes on all different levels. And at least for me, like as passionate and as opinionated as I am about everything, that's really what it comes down to. Like whether it's talking about back in the day when we were talking about bringing Ripley back or why Ripley should stay dead, all of those things, it's because we're so they're such a part of our lives, you know, and there's ownership of it. We own parts of these characters emotionally, maybe not intellectually or legally, but we emotionally own these characters, and that's almost the most ownership that you could have. And I think what we tap into in these interviews is all of that, and that's why these movies are important to me. It's not like someone said a while ago they'd never met someone as passionate about their interest as me. And I was kind of like, well, isn't everyone passionate like this? Isn't everyone passionate about stories? But I really think the best stories, the things that we've grown up with, things that we've watched, they are a part of us.
Like is exemplified in this particular Alien Day as well.
Yeah.
Because it was so fan driven and not corporatized in any way. It was just everyone being like, look at I have an alien picture on my wall. Like, look at this mug. Like, we all
Totally.
love this story. You know, it's more, yeah.
Totally.
I totally agree with that. I'm laughing because you're like, isn't everyone this passionate about looking at our fucking Zoom call? And we all, like, our faces are blocked by action figures right now.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this holiday about this franchise for like 12 hours, in Connor's case 16 hours now. So there might be people not quite as passionate about their hobbies as we are, but I hope and I do trust that many more people are than feel comfortable expressing it. And hopefully everybody in this fan community feels very comfortable being fucking incredibly nerdy in front of other people, because it's a truly beautiful thing. Hey,
last thing,
trivia.
Yeah, last thing. I just want to shout out to my dad's. It's his birthday today. April 22nd. Hey. My dad is the reason I love science fiction. My dad is the reason I love aliens. He introduced me to these things. I think a lot of us share that in common. Like, yes. I am who I am because of who he is, really. And it's great that he's 72 years young today, and he's an amazing person. And I love Alien because he loved me. So
happy birthday, Papa Prater.
Awesome, Jamie. Yeah, Papa Prater, happy birthday.
In this quick moment of silence, Patrick, where's the inflatable alien punch thing from, and when is that
gosh from? Yes, please.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's another Operation Aliens thing, but I don't think it technically is Operation Aliens because it's in like '94. But it's a punching bag, and it's fucking great. And
it's great.
We tape it up and blow it up.
I saw that. Cool. That was the one thing I was like, oh, I want that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll put. I have a whole like pile of shit here that I didn't get to like share today, which is funny because I did like 12 videos on Instagram today. But at some point, I'll put up a couple more, and I'll make sure to highlight the punching bag because I got some other people asking me about it too. It's great. It was like $10, and it's 100% worth it. And I'm currently, and you better not fucking bid on this. I'm saying this. I'm trusting you all right now on this. I'm bidding on an Operation Aliens thermos on eBay.
Oh Lord, what is it? $500?
No, it's going for $3.99 right now.
$399?
$3.
Oh,
no way.
No, fuck that. It's $399.
Yeah, no, my max bid is not $3.99. But I have to, as somebody who lost, I'm still bitter about this. There's a fucking so.
I remember this.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. There was an Operation Aliens fanny pack prototype that showed up on eBay, and I was like, oh my god, because I fucking love fanny packs too.
On it, it just says you're just too bad.
But I was like, I'm gonna do what it takes to get this thing. I bid like hundreds and hundreds of. I even talked to Micah about it, and she was like, I know this is you will be really upset if you don't get this. Like, I support you. Go for it. We'll figure this out. I bid like so much money on it, and I was winning it, and then in the last minute, somebody bid $400 over what I bid.
Someone sniped a fanny pack from you.
I was like,
"Oh my god,
is this person?" So if you are that person now,
fuck you.
We know you're listening. We know you're listening.
I want that thermos. I swear to God.
Anyway, we're all bidding on it right now.
Yeah, you are
So
gonna fucking
we're
kill
gonna do a giveaway, right? It's gonna be a T-shirt.
giveaway. Yeah. Well, we can figure that part out.
Okay. Well, shouldn't
do
they
have
know what
some
they're
swag-
winning?
So
Figure that out. Oh, it's just
You
a
gotta
pin.
plug the Kenner T-shirt.
It's
I'll
the
tell you
fanny
what,
pack.
it's not gonna be. It's not gonna
It's
be that
this.
thermos because I'm gonna fucking win that
This-
thermos.
It says perfect organism on it.
It's Jamie's tampon. So
Jake
listen.
just brings up the fan pack and say it was B.
I see it right now, Patrick. It says 1 bid.
Oh, on the thermos? Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me, Perry.
Yeah, okay.
So for this question, it'll probably be a T-shirt. We'll figure it
Gonna
out. We have
outbid you
more
and mail it to
swag.
We do. We have a lot more to give away.
We have more to give away. We'll do more of a contest, but I just, we like to end Alien Day with a trivia question. So the way to do this is going to be, I'm going to say the question right now, okay? And there are going to be 2 of them. You can answer either one of them. It just has to be one because they're both kind of weird. You have to get the answer to either of these 2 questions. If you get both of them, maybe there will be a bonus, but it's not going to be that fucking thermos, I swear to God. So you can answer either of these questions. You're going to send it to perfectorganismpodcast@gmail.com. Okay? perfectorganismpodcast@gmail.com. We will go by the first received correct answer. That will be the winner. Okay? And so go ahead and send away. The first question is, in the months leading up to the release of Aliens, there was a lower than anticipated audience enthusiasm. Marketing wasn't going well. This was attributed to one particular reason that surprised people. That's the trivia question.
I don't
There was
even know
something
this.
wrong. There was something, and it was related to the title of it. Okay, so the way that it had been named and talked about in media made Fox realize, oh shit, we got to do a PR campaign. That led to the cover of Time magazine eventually, and it led to some other things to basically say, like, this movie is not what you think it is. So that's the first question, okay? What was the marketing near faux pas, and what were people thinking this film actually was? The other one is the reveal of Gateway Station, Gateway 5, was of kind of a hurried design process. They had to kind of put this together quickly for the shoot. So they had to repurpose something. What did they repurpose in creating Gateway Station?
I don't know this either. I haven't read the book, of course.
I didn't even realize
It might not be a book.
Gateway Station.
Made
be
entirely
anything.
out of thermoses.
Well, so we're going to give a shirt away for each question answered, right? So can they answer both?
You can answer whatever you want. We'll figure it out. Just answer.
So
the
they're going to be
first
2
question.
shirts or whatever we're
Yeah.
going to choose?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll send.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, but those are your questions, okay?
Okay. Well, I would say we should probably wrap, right?
I think we should. Yeah.
Thank you everybody for watching. Before we do though, we have this amazing program called Patreon. It's allowed us to do a lot of what we do on Alien Day. It paid the money to pay the artist, who is my roommate, Blake Beckman, to create that amazing t-shirt. $4 a month. Sign up, perfectorganism.com/support. $4 a month. The more we can raise with Patreon, we might do a live show this at the end of this year or towards the end of this year on the East Coast. Perry can't come. I'm kidding. Damn it. So, but yeah, like I just can't push it enough. Like really, the money that we are given by our patrons have helped us do what we're doing. And like for the next audio drama, I'd like to pay the talent this time, at least what we can do. And the more we get from Patreon, the more we can do that. So perfectorganism.com/support if you're interested. Thanks everyone for watching.
Happy Alien Day.
Happy Alien Day.
Bye. For more on Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga podcast, please visit perfectorganism.com. Perfect Organism is available for listen or download through Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and Spotify. If you'd like to support the show, please visit perfectorganism.com/support. Thank you.